here from Volaticus, an aerial production company with an interest in flight simulation and aviation. Today I'm going to be taking a Hawk T1 for a bit of a flight, and where better to do that than the Scottish Highlands. I'm going to be flying low level. I'm going to start at Inverness in the north of Scotland and fly down to Campbeltown. And what's interesting about this flight is it'll involve flying down Loch Ness, not Lochie. So there's going to be quite a bit of loch flying, very low level. I've plotted a chart in ForeFlight, but we're actually going to be flying down the lochs themselves, more or less keeping just to the north of that track. En route, we're going to pass over an airfield here, which is Oban. We're not going to stop there, we're just going to use it as a waypoint, and then land at Campbeltown. Let's just check the weather. So Inverness is reporting wind 060 at 4 knots, 10 k's or more, few at 1500, scattered 4900, but actually we're probably not going to get up to even as high as 1500 on this flight. This is a low level flight. Let's have a quick look at the runway. So the wind at 060 is going to obviously favour runway 05. So that's fine. That'll involve a northeasterly departure and then a turn to aim for the loch on the way out. And then for Campbeltown, so the weather is easterly 10 knots, 10 kilometres or more, broken 4600, so slightly better weather in Campbeltown. So on the way, as I say, we're going to be flying down the lochs as much as possible. I put a visualization map on here which actually shows the terrain. You see, it's very mountainous. So low level we can go down into the lochs, but there is a patch of land that we need to cross over, so we're going to be sort of following the notch of the earth. So the Hawk is a new aircraft for me. Well, I've had it about a year or so, but I've not shot any video with it. It's fairly easy to fly. The flight model, a little questionable, I suppose. I had to tweak it a little bit to get it to be at all flyable. And in fact, one major problem I had with it was taxiing, because by default the Hawk doesn't have nose wheel steering. It's just a caster wheel on the front, and you use differential brakes to steer. So that sounds like a bit of a nightmare, and certainly in X-Plane 11 it was. But I managed to. There was a configuration change you can make, so it does have nose wheel steering, and that's made it a bit more playable. Let's just have a quick look on Inverness where we're here. So you can see the aircraft there, just at the southern point of taxiway Gulf. We're going to be taxiing out and backtracking runway 05 to depart towards the northeast. Inverness is a commercial airport of medium size, 6,200 feet runway approximately, nestled in the sort of northeast sector of Scotland. So just after takeoff, we're going to do a slow turn to the left, and then we're going to follow a track of approximately 217 degrees, and that should take us down towards Loch Ness. There's a little bit of land, and city, we actually fly over the city of Inverness, and then we'll just continue down there, and then Lochie, and then we pass over Oban Airport. We'll actually fly inland to intersect that, and then follow a track down which goes down to Campbeltown, just in the south here. So in terms of terrain and scenery, we're using the TrueEarth Northern United Kingdom. It looks really realistic actually from this aircraft. It's quite a grey day today, which is fairly typical of this part of Scotland, and we'll have some outside views and actually see the scenery in use. Let's get inside the aircraft. So it's going to be a cold and dark start. The first thing I'm going to do is just remove the chocks, and if I just do an outside view, you can see the aircraft has step access, so we can actually remove those as well. It's also simulating pilot and navigator, and that's via an option here. It doesn't actually replicate that inside, it's only for external views. And what I'm going to be doing is following the checklist which I've copied, which actually comes with it. So the Hawk T1 is a commercial product by Just Flight, and it's been out a few years now. It's pretty good, as I say. There's a few tweaks that are needed, but it's good fun. It's very good fun, particularly at low level. So let's get the checklist open. Okay, so the engine covers, chocks and tags have all been removed. The low pressure cock is this one here, so it needs to be in the up position, which it is, and throttle needs to be in the cut-off position. Just brighten the screen a little bit, it's a bit dark. So it's in the cut-off position there. And you see, if I try to move the throttle, you see it's actually stopped. So it's got a locking mechanism to stop that moving. So that's what it means by fuel cut off. It's actually the fuel has been cut off. So when we continue the checks, we need to unlatch that so we can move the throttle. That's part of the startup procedure. Let's have a look at that now. So first things first is to switch the batteries on. And that shows you the panel here. This is fairly, this is an old aircraft. I think they're built around the 50s, 60s. So it's a trainer aircraft, but it's, don't let that fool you into thinking that there's anything easy about flying this aircraft. It's obviously a stepping stone for people moving into fast jet flying. Right, so engine start switch first of all. So we've got the engine start switch here. Let's just move that into the on position. Ignition, it's just up here. And then the start relay, which is this button here. You can hear it now, starting to fire up into life. I'm waiting for the GTS to go green, which it just is now. And just bring the throttle forward a bit and then move to start. Now spooling up. It's really starting to fire up now. And the HP cock now down. And hide 2 is on, the other hydraulic system is already online, and then DC button, which is this one here, brings all the instruments up into life, and then the 2 AC systems, and we clear of all the warnings apart from the skid warning, and that's will be invoked by the anti-skid control, which is here, but I'm going to leave that off for the moment. And we're ready to go. So that's the checklist, which is actually a feature built into ForeFlight, which is one of the products we're using today. So we have the canopy open at the moment, as you can see. We'll give that a close so it reduces some of the noise. From the inside at least. And spool up a bit, brakes released, and just test the brakes. So just to run through the views that I've set up on this aircraft. So we've got obviously the pilot view, left and right. We also have looking down at the throttle unit, and that's the left and right hand side. And then for the rear seat, the navigator seat, it's actually a pretty good view, and you'll be looking from this view at some of the aerial shots. Actually, it really gives a sense of speed in this aircraft. And then the kind of wing view, although actually the wing is slightly behind us here. So let's switch some lights on then. So we've got the nav lights, anti-collision lights on, and just approaching the threshold for runway 05. If you're used to flying airlines, you'll love the increased visibility you get in these sort of aircraft, of course. So, flaps for takeoff, just 2 stages of flap, so we just use stage 1 for takeoff. The other thing is this panel up here is the armaments panel, and we can actually disable that by clicking that button. So there's quite a few options here. I'm not going to run through them all right now. Final checkout. So the reason I've chosen this location is I think it really adds a lot to the experience. You know, flying this over fairly flat terrain doesn't really do justice, so you have to really fly in some mountainous areas. As I say, this is a trainer aircraft. It can easily get up to about 500 knots at ground level, which is staggering. Fuel on board, got about a couple of hours of endurance. The flight time is not going to be anything like that. It should be there in about half an hour. The other thing you've got is the radio systems and everything in the transponder, which I haven't set up today. I just wanted to really demonstrate the flights and the sort of sortie you might do in one of these sort of aircraft. So just a quick check, trim set, flaps set for takeoff. Anti-skid is off, so we'll switch that on now. And just spin this around first of all. Fuel pump can come on. We'll stick the pitot heat on as well. Just a quick check on everything else, no warnings. Can actually switch the radio on. That's just one COM radio. As I say, I'll leave the transponder and everything else and navigation. So this has a sort of VOR and an ILS equipment built in. I'm not going to use that today, it's a purely visual flight. Okay, let's go. Gear and flap is up. We'll start the turn now. So this is TrueEarth Scotland. Having flown quite a bit in the United Kingdom, I've got to say this is very realistic. So our initial track will be 216 from here. I'm just trying to keep below that bit of cloud. Keep the speed under control as well. It's quite tough as we're levelling off fairly low level and keep coming around. There we are. Just trying to trim, it's actually quite twitchy. Almost need full nose down trim at these sort of speeds. They're about 370 or so. It's Inverness city. So we're just routing down to pick up on the northeast tip of Loch Ness, famous Loch Ness, which has the monster, allegedly. There's a few photos of it. I'm not sure what to believe, really. I think, well, I'm not going to say anymore. Very unlikely to see it on TrueEarth, though. I don't think they're modelling the Loch Ness monster, but possibly. So we're going to come down a bit lower over the loch. I see lots of mountainous terrain both sides, so you know, it makes it interesting. And we'll maintain about 400 knots, try to bring it down to about 300 feet. That's not it, is it? I can see something straight ahead. No. I thought we were lucky. I thought that might have been the monster, but maybe not. So it's actually quite easy to fly once you're in the air, and certainly takeoff and landing not really any different to complex singles or the twin jets that most of us fly. I'm not sure how accurate the flight model is. I'm not a Hawk pilot by any stretch of the imagination. Just out of interest, if you're from the United Kingdom, it probably ingrained in your psyche that you would know that the Hawk is the type of aircraft that the Red Arrows fly. So if you're not from the United Kingdom and you didn't know that, well, that's it. That's the type of aircraft the Red Arrows are flying. And in fact, the Red Arrows livery is one of the options for this aircraft. Now, obviously, we're flying low level today, but this can shoot up to serious flight altitudes. It can go up to flight level 300 or whatever, just fly airways if you want. Not really much fun, but, you know, you can do it. So that's the rear passenger view, or the navigator view. It's one of my favourite ones, particularly when flying over terrain. Let's bump the speed a little bit. So more or less at the end of Loch Ness, some power lines to watch out for here. I always have to keep that in mind. We do in Scotland, obviously draping from mountain to mountain. Thankfully very clear on X-Plane, but I think power lines are probably a bit of a hazard for anyone flying this sort of level. Plus, the other thing is anyone flying in the opposite direction or even the same direction is going to be flying in this corridor, so you have to watch out. So we're now entering Loch Rocky. So you see that navigator view is absolutely fantastic. As soon as you're flying over some sort of differential terrain like this, it's absolutely fantastic. You really get a sense of the speed. So just to point out, I'm using ForeFlight. This is a trial of ForeFlight. But I've been given a trial of the US version of it, so this is obviously not in the US. But it still has some details for the rest of the world, and you know, the map level, detail level is actually pretty good. The thing you don't get, of course, is the approach charts. You get the taxi plan, but that's it for airports outside of the region you subscribe to. So I'll tell you one thing, this TrueEarth has really transformed the flying experience in the United Kingdom for me. I've flown around the United Kingdom quite a bit, and it's, I don't know, it's just a serious shift upwards in terms of the level of detail. It has no impact on the frame rate either, which is, you know, is always going to be your consideration, isn't it, when you're buying scenery? You know, is it going to half my frame rate? It just doesn't seem to have any adverse impact, which is fantastic. So here we are, higher than I planned actually, 450 knots. Just come down to about 500 feet. So just quite a bit further north from the track, as I say, we're following the loch. At some point quite soon we'll actually be turning inbound towards Oban, and we're going to pass on the overhead of Oban. So it'd probably be wants to give them a call now if we can get through, because at the moment we don't have line of sight from the radio perspective at least. So we'll probably not hear anything until we're quite close. Start a turn now. I'll just increase the height a little bit, not intentionally, but that would probably be useful to get some radio communication with those guys. And we're flying the overhead. We plan to fly over their field about 1,000 feet, I think. So I just have to keep a good lookout for the terrain. It's you know, as I say, at this sort of level, it's there's lots of hazards. You can't get too complacent. And there it is, just in the 11 o'clock position. No ban. No ban. Okay, excellent. So, next one is the Campbeltown, just doing this very slight right. It's 190 is the track at least. Don't have very strong wings, so we should be able to maintain that. Terrain gets a little interesting, so I'll have to be a bit careful, but nothing too horrendous, certainly not for this aircraft. So what we'll try and do is keep this as low as possible and give you a sense of the speed of it. So we're nearly 450 knots, so it's quite an impressive performance given it's a trainer. So I'm just going to navigate out towards the coast as in preparation for the approach into Campbeltown. So we're going to be landing on the easterly runway, so just follow the coast down. We should set us up on a final for 09. A touch of air brake as well. And gear. Just have a look out for the airport now. I think it's just there in the 10 o'clock position. First stage of flap can come in. So the approach speed is going to be about 125 in this aircraft. I think that's the runway there. And it has a bit of an offset runway actually, looking at the chart, so yeah, I can see the markings now some distance down. I'm just going to do a backtrack here actually, because the taxiways are few and far between. Flaps coming up. And any unnecessary electrics can come off now. There's so much closed here actually, it's a struggle to see what's open. You see all of the original airport perimeter, and actually it's only a skeleton of the original airport which is actually open and operational, including the runway. About half the runway has been taken out. So this is good fun. It's a bit of a challenge to fly, which is always the best thing. This is a let's see, 1750, so that's about 5,000 feet. runway, and we probably only used about half that, so you know it's quite capable of getting in and out of fairly small fields. Hoping I'm going the right way here actually. It's, as I say, there's lots of dead ends. Yeah, I think that's right. And then not this first right, but the next one. And go towards the town, get a cup of tea.
X-ray, Sierra, cleared IFR2, Dundee, as filed, maintain, 1-3000, squawk, 4700.
Cleared IFR2, Dundee, as filed, maintain, 1-3000, squawk, 4700, X-ray, Sierra.
3, X-ray, Sierra, runway, 11, hold short of runway, 11.
Runway 11, hold short of runway 113, X-ray Sierra.
So I just recognised a mistake. I thought it was runway 09, it's actually 11. Let's stick it in front of the hangar there. And get the canopy open as well. Oops, what's happened there? See, a manoeuvre like that would have been an absolute nightmare without the nose wheel steering. Okay, let's close it down. Today you've seen the Just Flight Hawk T1 being flown in northern Scotland using the TrueEarth Scotland scenery. I'm Paul from Volaticus. Thanks for your company today. I hope to see you again on the next one. Thank you, take care, and bye-bye.